Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. We hope you get some value from the session that we'll be presenting. A couple of quick housekeeping items, just so everyone's aware. This session is going to be recorded and uploaded onto our YouTube channel that you can access via our website. And if you have any questions during the presentation, you could post these in the questions tab, and my colleague John will be collating these, and we'll look to get through as many of those questions in the Q&A section following the end of the presentation. Now, this is a part of a series of webinars that we're running. You'll be receiving a survey, and it'd be great if you could respond so that we can capture your feedback, and that helps us to improve and direct the content of the series going forward. Now, my name is Dan Minnick. I'm the go-to-market lead for the data platforms and engineering community here at Agile. I just want to give you a brief overview of today's agenda. So I'm going to give a quick overview of Agile as an organization and a brief look into how we work with our industry partners, analyze technology trends, and identify opportunities for our customers. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Rich Carberry, who's going to look at some of the architecture and use cases we use around how we deliver on data governance for our clients. And he's going to pass it over to Mark O'Donnell, who's going to look at how we accelerate analytics through customer insights with MS Azure. And he's going to do a quick demo of customer insights. We'll then pass it over to Mel Hodge, who's going to have a look at how we enhance analytics with governance data through the use of Purview on MS Azure. And again, she'll do a quick demo. We'll then have a brief summary, and we'll move on to questions towards the end before we close. So just a brief overview of Agile and who we are as an organization. Now, our mission at Agile is to reinvent digital consulting. We focus on embedding agility and adaptability into our clients' business, mainly through the appropriate adoption and application of intelligent and disruptive technology that allows us to capture, manage, and capitalize on our clients' data. And we deliver on proven customer value. Our service offering in delivery structure is based on specialization through the data lifecycle. We break this into three focus areas. Our data strategy, governance, and advisory community. We support on strategy development and planning. We work on data governance and data security frameworks, and we set the foundations for enabling successful building of data management capabilities within an organization. And the data platforms and engineering community builds on that foundation and introduces operational components within the lifecycle through designing and creating data repositories, connecting to business systems and building integration pipelines, and configuring these components into data platforms. And we embed DevOps processes and techniques to accelerate and automate deployments, building out what Gartner refers to as data ops deployment pipelines. Finally, our visualization and analytics and insight community capitalizes on the operational framework, designing processes to develop insight from that data, and then producing multiple channels that push that value out into the business. How does this translate into our engagements with our clients? Well, as you can see, we cover the full spectrum of the life cycle with a broad range of clients across multiple industry sectors. This includes public sector, financial services, manufacturing, retail, and travel and tourism, among others. We provided solutions and delivered engagements with organizations of varying size, focusing mainly on medium and larger enterprise companies, though increasingly we're speaking to smaller organizations as we help them develop their data management strategy and build their capability in the cloud. So what I'll do now is give you a little bit of insight into how we work with our industry partners and use those relationships to help our clients. So we leverage the insight that we get from our partnership with Gartner. We get early access to industry trends that we use to help our customers develop their data management roadmap and maintain a balance of avoiding risk through the use of tried and tested technology, and to where early adoption of emerging technology can capitalize on opportunity and drive advantage for their organization. Then We use our relationships with technology vendors like Microsoft and through the Azure platform, and we can slot applications. Into their roadmap to cover relevant and appropriate technologies that suit the requirements and drive return on investment for their data management solutions. So what I'll do now is hand it over to my colleague, Rich Carberry, who's going to walk you through some of the common data governance use cases that we're seeing both with our customers and in the wider marketplace, and our approach to solution architecture in delivering on those use cases with Microsoft Azure.
Thanks, Dan. And thanks everybody else for joining today. Hopefully everybody can now see my screen, and I think that should be you. So again, thanks everyone again for joining. For those of you who joined us on our previous webinar, you might remember we went through the data lakehouse concept in Azure. Today we're going to be looking at customer insights, and we're also going to be looking at Purview. Now, predominantly, you might hear us from time to time interchange customer insights with CI. So just to give you some awareness, and that's the terminology that we might flip between. But the CI, we see that really as an accelerator platform that can take the data, your curated data from your data lake, and really and build out your customer model, accelerate that journey. It automates that engineering workload that in times gone past you would have had to assign engineers to manage, develop and maintain over time. It also comes with predictive modeling out the box, so things like long-term value of lifetime value of a customer, and next best product. So it's got some really cool features that you can utilize out of the box once you've got your data merged. But I'll let Mark talk a wee bit more about that. But one of the other cool things about customer insights is it's linking with Synapse, the Synapse link. And you can see here, and we talked briefly about Synapse at the last webinar, and we're going to be doing a deeper dive into Synapse in a future webinar. But for the time being, what's really cool to call out here is just how well the data from customer insights, and we'll show you a wee bit about this later, works alongside Synapse. And with Purview, it's the governance capability from Azure. It does things like it has the data map, the catalog, maps your data lineage, and again, all very key components for managing and maintaining and understanding what's going on your data platform. And it also has the same Synapse link, and we see these tools predominantly in conjunction with Power BI really being the kind of cornerstone to really deliver a really great platform that brings that collaboration that we see with all our clients that we are working on this reference architecture that we've showed you earlier on. This is really bringing these teams together. We're seeing data scientists and engineers working hand in hand, understanding requirements better. We're seeing our reporting and BI analysts working on visualizations, and data stewards all working collaboratively on those 4 key tools within the Microsoft stack, particularly within Azure. And you know, the reason why, what the benefits of this is they see this enhanced kind of analytical capability where things are delivered at pace and with quality. And I think that's really important. And probably could talk about this arguably for quite a long time, because I'm very excited about these technologies, as maybe perhaps is coming across. But I don't want to steal any more time from Mark or Mel, who are going to do a bit of a deeper dive on customer insights and Purview in the coming night. So I'm just going to hand you over to Mark just now to take you through customer insights. And thank you very much again for joining us. Over to you, Mark.
Thanks, Richard. Okay, hi everyone. Hopefully you can see my screen okay. I've got a couple of slides to take you through here first, and then I'll get into a very quick whistle-stop tour of customer insights and some of the demo stuff we've done off the back of it. So I guess what we want to do is, before we start talking about customer insights, then just a couple of things that we're kind of seeing about it and why it's kind of good, what it's really doing for us. It really, we're finding it as an enabler for a lot of the analytic sort of value that you can get out of the data. We can deliver we can deliver really quite quickly with this. So you know, it's a kind of point and click interface, very fast to deploy and actually get information out of, start to make value out of it. It deals with all of the orchestration. It deals with the different layers that we put on it. We don't need to have a separate kind of scheduling or you know, people pushing buttons. It's got machine learning built into it. You know, and you know, the point and click thing with the low code, no code approach is just an enabler for speed, really. And then ultimately what it does is it's defining, it's bringing all our business terms together under the common data model on the customer data platform that that Microsoft have enabled with the Dynamics suite, and it means that there's a kind of common language, and it makes it so much easier from an analytics perspective. And then ultimately you've got the power of the Azure platform behind it. It integrates very, very nicely with that. So these are some of the benefits that we're seeing, but I guess before we go on and talk more about customer insights, just a bit of a kind of a bit of an overview of what exactly it is. You know, your main use case here for customer insights is this single customer view. That's what it's about. You're not really going to be using customer insights unless you're after this single customer view, and that's really about unlocking the data that you've got hidden across your company. You know, so from all of these old legacy systems that capture customer information on, you know, contacts or you know, web type applications, it's all about really capturing all of that stuff, bringing it together, and then creating that single customer view. And then once you've got that single customer view, it's then about leveraging that, so making the best of it, bring it together with the data that you've got in your organization, and then seeing what's happening across all of these customers. You know, the traditional approach to doing this is to, you know, I've seen a lot of things from, you know, custom developed access solutions and, you know, scripted approaches to trying to get the value out of all of this data. But customer insights brings all this together into, you know, one platform that can be deployed pretty quickly and fairly straightforwardly. And then once that's done, it's about actually using that data and driving the meaningful action part of it. And, you know, that's all about, you know, integration with the other tools that are in the Microsoft stack, you know, like Dynamics and sales and CRM components of that, but also about embedding the analytics into these journeys, you know, the sales flow processes and whatnot, you know, pushing the analytics across and into that, leveraging the data that's coming together from the customer insights platform is a really powerful thing to do. Again, moving on, at the heart of customer insights is this unification process. That's the bit that's in the middle of this slide, and it's all about, you know, it's about bringing that, it's about this, you know, this 3-step map, match and merge process, and bringing all your customers together onto a platform where you can actually, you know, enrich and push other data sets together and bring it all into the same place. With it being a Microsoft product, then pretty much any source really. It's difficult to imagine sources that aren't actually on this, but you know, you can pull information from anywhere, and even, you know, at the end of the day, drop down to text files if you really need to. And then, you know, on the platform, we've got machine learning capability, and then because of the integration, again, we can push data out into, you know, Power BI in this particular case, but, you know, with signups behind it and the power of the Azure platform, you know, the world is your oyster when it comes to integration and the speed that you can deliver that at. Just a quick overview of the architecture before I take you into the demo. This is Richard's slide, just kind of highlighting the bits that we're looking at here. So customer insights in the middle of it, pushing and pulling data from our Azure data lake, and then with signups sitting on top of that, ultimately with some reporting in Power BI off of the back of it. So I'm just going to switch across now and actually take you through a very quick demo of it. There's a lot in the customer insights platform, so this will be a very quick whiz through. When I come into customer insights, and I guess it's worth pointing out, it's actually audience insights, which is the component of customer insights that we're looking at just now. Then I come into my home screen, and what that's actually doing is it's just showing me some metrics and measures that I've defined across it. We'll maybe come back to this in a little bit. But essentially, you know, following the process through, then we start with the data layer. And what we're doing here is we're actually ingesting data. Now in here I've set up a connection to our data lakehouse, and I've pulled data out of it. The tool that we use to do that is Power Query, so that will be really familiar to anybody who's got any experience in Power BI or even Excel and whatnot. And it allows, you know, there's quite a lot of kind of flexibility in here. It allows you to actually tweak and merge and change data as you actually bring it in. It's a pretty powerful kind of tool really for having available to you at this point. From there, the data gets loaded into the platform, and then we move on to this main unify step. This is where we take data from each of the kind of disparate sources that we're pulling in from. So in this demo, I've got 2 files that I'm pulling in. And then what we do in the first stage is we map this onto the kind of common data model. So what you've got down the left-hand side here are all of the terms that are in the files I've loaded. And then what you've got on the right-hand side, if I just drop these down, you've got the terms that are actually in the customer data model. So, there's lots of availability in there in terms of mapping things. One of the good things about it is it's got this intelligent mapping in it, so there's really little work to do. When you come into this file, it will have a best guess at all of the terms, and it'll actually map them for you, so you just really need to check it. From then we move into the match, and this is where we start to get into the really interesting part. So what I've done here is I've already created a model that's mapping these two files together. And what I've done here is I've mapped on full name, and then when full name's not matched, I've matched on email. And you can see here from the stats from the run, it's getting a reasonable match on each of these, which is resulting in a 100% match. Now, this is actually obviously sample data and maybe slightly contrived. Getting that in the real world might be quite challenging. Worth pointing out in here that because it knows a bit about certain types of field, then it builds efficiencies into that and knows how to deal with things like names and addresses and organisations. And we can choose and tune the exact precision that we have with this, so we can make it less accurate or make it more accurate, for example. And yeah, there's some experimentation required to actually get to the point where you really understand the best way of doing that. You can see in here that I've loaded about 5,000 records from each file, giving me a total of 10,000 records across it, and the result set's got about 5,000 records in it. Moving on from that, the merge process is about determining how I push that data out. So in the case where there's actually a number of fields coming from both files, then I can determine the precedence of them, and that tells me what actually goes into the resulting data set. Now, at each stage within this, data has been loaded into the Customer Insights platform, and we're starting to, first of all, we load data in, and then we map and merge it, and then, the next stage is that we can bring in other types of data as well. So in this case, I've brought in some activity data. Now, this is about kind of colour and about maybe making your kind of Customer Insights platform a bit more interesting. So, purchase information from stores and webs, from the web, being pulled in here. It will automatically pull all this stuff together with the right customer information. And it starts to build up the relationships, and you can see some of that kind of quite visually, quite nicely on the platform. Again, quite simple to begin with. You can imagine how complicated this would get when you actually get into something a bit more challenging. Once we've loaded that data in, then we can move on. We can choose to enrich it if we want. I've put in a sample enrichment here from a standard Microsoft data set, and it's a very simple demographic-based enrichment that just literally looks at some of the demographics I've got attached to my customers, and then just gives me affinity levels for some financial products, just to kind of show how this works. And if I'll zoom down here, you can actually see that it's pulling out customers with the affinity scores for each of these financial products. And that can, there's many different enrichments that we can do as a result of that. As I said before, each layer within this, it builds up and it creates entities for each one. So I can see in here, this is the data that's been pulled in at the first, the data layer. And then as I move up, we can see in here that it's actually adding on lots of other different layers, the customer layer, and then the various enrichments are in here as well. And here, and all the other interesting things like the intelligence thing, which I'll come on to in just a second. Moving on from that, we can define some measures, kind of standard, I guess, practice, define the measures in here, which then become available on the home screen and for pushing out to other tools. Segments as well for a bit of segmentation analysis. It's got some nice features behind that allow me to actually visually look at the segments and overlap and things like that. And then probably lastly, and maybe more interestingly, the machine learning intelligence that's built into the product supports various standard data models. Like, for example, I've created this one here for customer lifetime value. And what it's doing is it's looking at my data and it's actually making some recommendations. It's predicting the, forward what my lifetime value is for my customers. So I can then choose to take action off the back of that. I can actually either produce reports here, or I can push it out onto Power BI. When that's all done, then I have it creates a customer list, and this is a bit, I guess, any sort of front-facing users would actually be using. And if I click on that, you can see all of the details here together with the activities and some of the measures and metrics and affinity information that have all been defined. So once I've got all that defined, then the bit that's probably more interesting to me is that I can actually just quite easily push all of this stuff out and onto the Azure platform. Quite a straightforward process. I literally choose all of those entities that I want to push out and hit the run button. This can all be scheduled as well as part of the kind of orchestration. If I just flick over and I'm just going to quickly show you the Synapse workspace. So the data gets pushed across and into it, and really without me actually doing anything, because Customer Insights knows and understands what Synapse is and how to deal with it, then you can see in here that actually it's created all of my entities, and it's as easy as that to actually get access to it. So for example, this is my customer entity. I'm just querying it just now, and in a second you'll see the data set. So this is the data that's been created in it. Now, the next stage for this is then to push it across and into Power BI. And when I connect Power BI up to it, because it's Synapse, it just pulls it straight in. It pulls all of this information in, makes it available. And Power BI does its thing where it actually understands a lot. It looks for commonalities in the data model, and because we're using the customer data model, and its standards underneath, then I get this for nothing. This is the entity map. So at the heart of this is customer, and what it's done is it's defined all of my cardinalities and relationships between all my entities because of that underlying customer common data model that exists there. I get this really pretty much for nothing, which means I don't have to do a huge amount of work to actually get this across. And then finally, what I've done is I've actually just I've knocked up a couple of Power BI demo reports that just allow me to show that the data's across and into the platform really without much at all. So what I've done here is I've created a starting page that just shows me a little bit about my the process, the actual matching process. So you can see in here it's the same numbers that were actually in the other screen within Customer Insights, and I can keep an eye on my match rate if I want to, and I can even track it historically if I wanted to. I've just thrown in some other visualizations just to show the kind of thing that's available. So average transaction value by state, where are my visualizations based on kind of mapping, where are my transactions actually happening, and looking at the size of them. So maybe some more specific analysis around about something like reward points, for example, looking for outliers. And then just to show that the enrichment data is also available, and I can actually start to take it and do other things with it. I've just literally used Power BI to produce, it's the same screen that was available in Customer Insights, but just to show that I can actually take it from here and then start to combine the customer information and then start to push it and combine it with other data sets that I've got. But yeah, the affinity information is also all available within Power BI. And then lastly, the actual customer lifetime value. This is the information that came out of the machine learning model. And I've just pulled it across and I've just ranked it top 100 and bottom 100 customers with the actual customer lifetime value score. So we can then start to again integrate this with our other data sets to actually see more about, to use it and best how we can leverage it. So yeah, that's a very quick kind of tour. And I guess because it's Power BI, and because of the standard tools that we get with Power BI, you can actually then start to look at the lineage and the impact. And although at the minute it only goes back as far as the Synapse SQL Server part of it, in the future I think this will be extended out. Anyway, that's getting more into the space of what I think Mel's going to talk about. So that's really kind of most of it. I guess I'm going to probably hand you over now to Mel so that she can take you through the next bit. Thanks for your attention. Cheers.
Hello everyone. Thanks, Mark. I'm Mel. So today we're going to be looking at a very high-level view of Purview. It's quite a broad tool, so there's quite a lot to discover there. Anyway, so without more ado, on with my presentation. Right, so as we've been hearing, everyone's been touching on the increase in the interdisciplinary nature of data platforms. So of course we're seeing that trend replicated within the data management and governance world as well. Mark's just mentioned the benefits of linking up all of that organisational data, and Purview allows us to put that business understanding and context on top of that as well, broaden out the appeal to the whole organisation. So 90% of organisations are still citing data as a critical enterprise asset. But I think beyond that, the recent pandemic and the resulting change in working practices has really emphasised the need for better managed data and for us to be able to deliver on the promise of bringing different data disciplines together. And to do this, we really can't underestimate the need for collaboration, especially in the face of remote working and as the volume and velocity of data increases all the time. So we need to support that widening network of data creators and consumers across the business, whether they're engineers or scientists, or even just operations people looking for better control of or insight into their data. All data management use cases do rely on the ability to find, interpret and trust that data across the organisation, and to do so with a consistent experience whilst eliminating some of the manual effort that we have probably experienced at some point. Over recent years, governance has become less about bureaucracy and more about unlocking the value in data and avoiding the risk of it being badly controlled or scattered around in a variety of tools. Data governance now is seen as a key aspect of all data cultures and is at the root of everyone's digital journey. So how does Purview help us to achieve all of this? Well, it enables organisations to easily deliver that consistent experience, whatever their governance model might be and wherever their data might be held. So whether it's on-prem, in the cloud, or a combination of everywhere across geographies, diverse business operations and different jurisdictions, they can all come together within Purview. It creates an environment for a unified governance experience that allows data creators and consumers to maximise the value of their data and to gain strategic insight into data across their entire datascape. They're really able to manage their data better, understanding what they have, where it is, and the risks that they might be posed by that data. They're able to gain much better insight into how that data is consumed and therefore create the right governance solutions for their organisations. Purview allows users to overcome operational silos whilst complying with ever-increasing legislation and meeting the needs of a growing data estate. It's cloud-native platform as a service, so it allows you to get going really quickly without having to bother with the complexity and cost of building and running your own governance infrastructure. So how does it achieve this? Well, at the heart of Purview is the data map. That's just here, right in the middle. This automates the extraction of data and metadata across any or all sources of data. Users can then classify their data using out-of-the-box classifications, or they can use their organisational classifiers of their own design, so you can use a combination of the two. All this brings additional meaning, value and risk reduction, and it also brings understanding of the relationships within the data, bringing clarity end-to-end through with using data lineage. So on top of the data map, we find the data catalogue. This is where the business context comes into it and allows users to search, browse to find the data that they need. Data stewards can use the catalogue and the business glossary to standardise business terminology and definitions, and it connects users such as engineers and data scientists to the data that they use, that they need to use through the use of a curated catalogue. The insights layer gives a real, what's up here on the top, it gives a real high-level view of the whole datascape that allows users to drill down into more information where they require it. So what use cases are we seeing with our customers? So for me, the big thing that's coming through at the moment, it really is around collaboration across all the silos, whether it's business, geography or technology. So it's bringing everything together. So organisations are using metadata to connect their data and lineage to understand the provenance and where it's coming from and who's using it. They're using classifications to bring additional insight and understanding to that data, and they're looking at tools to move the focus from doing work to doing the work of governance, to being able to benefit from that work. And they also appreciate the simplicity of a single tool stack across the whole estate. Right, so before I jump into the demo, I'd just like to say Microsoft are having a big event on the 28th of September. There's going to be lots of interesting news and information and demos, so I'd really encourage you to sign up for that. Right, okay, I'm just going to start the demo now.
I think you can see the announcement there as well, right front and centre, as your Purview digital event.
Oh yes,
You can only,
there it is. The announcements
yeah,
in
you can only
yes.
guess where they may announce at that point.
Yeah, make a note. Right, so usually you would enter the Purview Studio through your Azure portal, but obviously I've already got it open today for the purposes of the demo. So this is the studio. This is where you can browse existing assets that are already under management. So there's all sorts of things around here. You can manage the glossary, or you can access the knowledge center. It's always useful to be able to sort of dip back into those tutorials or things that you might have looked at the beginning, but then you need to sort of a bit more information, and there's sorts of there's blogs and things in there as well. On the left, we can access either data catalog, the data map, or data management and insights. So if we start with the insights tab, actually management allows you to set access controls and the things, so you can control who sees various sources and things like that, and then you apply it to a collection, and then you can inherit those controls across your sources. So if we look into the insights bucket, this gives us an overview of all the assets under management. It's just loading down here, so we get an immediate sort of feedback on the state of the estate and the types of sources that we're reviewing. It gives us a completely high-level view, and then you can drill down into each area, such as you can find out about your scans, you can dip into the glossary. So this is quite helpful for compliance teams or project managers and things like that, to be able to understand the progress of governance. So how many terms have you defined, discovered, classified, all those sorts of things. Then we can go into classifications. So this here you'll be able to review the classifications that have been used and any sensitivity labels that have been applied. These labels relate back into Microsoft's information protection tools and Office 365, and so you get that nice sort of consistent experience, and they're intended to allow you to quickly understand the datascape and see where, for example, sensitive data might exist. And it's great for spotting sort of potential risks. Right, so okay, we're going to jump into the data map now, because this is really the sort of the heart of the tool. So, okay, this is where we come to manage scans and classifications, this including establishing sensitivity. As Purview will tell you, where all your sensitive data is as part of the scanning process. It also integrates with Azure Monitor, so you can have alerts regarding the state of your scans or the health of the service itself. As each source is scanned, it adds into the data map, which is just represented here. And the more you scan, the more powerful that map becomes. As it's likely you're going to have lots of data sources to be scanned, you can then sort and group those sources into collections. You can then deploy access controls at the collection level, so a source within a collection inherits all of the established controls. Right, so let's have a look how you might do that. So in the sources, you pick a bit to register, and then you can choose any of these types of sources that you might want to register. There's really quite a lot there. So you can just pick one of those. And then you can put it into various groups, you can assign it to a collection, and that's how you do that. You can also request a scan, and we all know data changes quite regularly, so Purview will rescan resources as per a schedule that you decide on, automatically creating the cloud infrastructure and everything that's required to do that. So regular scans ensure that the metadata within it stays up to date. And when you're setting up the scan, you can select various classification rules, which are here, which are bundles of various rules that you can apply. And these are the out-of-the-box classifications. So there are hundreds there, over 100 there, that allow you to do things like classify things like national insurance numbers or credit cards, various government IDs around the world, email addresses, all of those sorts of things. We can also define our own classifications and establish tolerances at this point to reduce any sort of false positives. I'll jump back to the data map. So here we can, if we click on view details, you can see that there are two sources that make up the root collection, and the map opens up as you click. You can navigate through the map You can imagine this over time, this would get quite complicated. So you've got a little navigator here that allows you to move your focus around. At this point, you can edit or request a new scan or delete a source here. So now we've run the scans, we can explore the assets in various ways. Different users can approach the data catalogue in any way that makes sense to them. So back into the data catalogue here, you can see that we've already produced some, registered some sources and discovered some assets, and it's already built the catalogue. So we have 51 glossary terms here. So I'm just going to jump into the glossary and add some terms. So just to show you how easy that is to do. So these are all the things that we've already discovered and classified. So just add in a new term. So I'm going to use the system defaults here, so I don't need to bother to set up a template. We're just going to set something up. Country, this might be the business definition of what we're doing. And I also want to establish who the SME might be, so I'm going to make that Richard. And I'm going to allocate Mark as the steward. Go back in here, and then I can create that term. So I mean, that is really how easy it is. So yeah, gone are the days of writing all these things in an Excel spreadsheet. So if we go back to the data catalogue, you can see that our glossary terms have increased. So before we end the demo, I'm just going to jump in and show you how lineage works. So this is a really important aspect of the tool for me. I think that all of the effort that we've spent over the years trying to understand the provenance of data, and here we are, it's just in the data map, which is really sort of saves a lot of time. So lineage allows you to understand where things come from. So if we click down here, we can view the details of this catalogue. See some more information there about when it was created, all those sorts of things. We go back to the data catalogue, we can access the same source, but through the browse assets. So we can see marketing is here. This also allows us to see any classifications that have been discovered within that source. So I'm going to look for anything with country or region in it, and I can see that 2 sources within the entire collection have been found to have this information in them. So let's just have a quick look at that information. So then we can see the schema, so the format of the file that we've brought in, and we can look at the lineage. Fit on my screen a bit better. Right, so we can see that the query has gone, the source query has gone through some sort of merging process and ended up being merged into this Parquet file here. So we can switch that asset to see if there's any more information that's been merged into this file, and we can see that the 2 queries have actually both been merged in there, which is quite handy. And then we can go back to the schema and see that, okay, we've got a field here that's been classified as country. So now I can look at that information. I can see that there isn't a glossary term associated with that. So actually I'm going to edit that and just apply a glossary term to it, so that I know that from the very start to the business term, I know where all the linkages are. So we'll just save that. We go back to come and look at the asset again. See which one it applies to. I think we go with this one. Now we can see that it's registered by schema. We can look at the schema here. And now it's not added. Let me just do that again. Well, actually, I think you can probably see what's going on there. So you add the term to the asset, and you can link the technical data to the business term, bringing the sort of demo full circle, really. So connecting business understanding to metadata. So that's all I really wanted to show you today. So I'm going to hand you back to my colleague, Dan.
All right, thanks for that, Mel. And thanks to Rich and Mark as well for going through some of the applications and some of the technology that we use in Microsoft's Azure platform to help us deliver on some of our data governance use cases that we work with our customers. So just to kind of give a brief summary of some of the themes and some of the critical areas that I think we've covered or that have come out of the demos and the guys looking at this technology today. So obviously consolidation is a huge part of what we've seen, right? Bringing all the data from the organization together into one place and under one view, whether that's through customer or whether it's through giving visibility and access to that to the business through Purview. But certainly bringing that data together and creating that curated data set is certainly going to help us, certainly helps our customers to accelerate their customer insights journey. Another huge element of having that capability within the organization is how it facilitates and enables collaboration through different areas of the business, right? And providing that direct access through the business and allowing that and facilitating and enabling that collaboration brings a huge amount of value to what value that our customers get out of the data that they have available in their organization. Now that single integrated tool set across all the different functions within the data management or data exploitation process, again, giving that consistent user experience, you know, so that data stewards and data owners who go into the system don't have to relearn new technology or how it works, or to, you know, to tailor their experience to the type of activity that they're engaging in, and can use different tools in a similar fashion is a huge benefit to using this type of technology and to use this platform. And finally, as we've seen in, you know, that kind of leads into having both customer insights and Purview taking a low code or no code approach, how that enables business users, you know, whether that's owners or stewards, to engage with the data directly and have a meaningful impact on data governance processes. Just before we move on to questions and to close out the presentation part of this webinar, just provide you with some contact details. So we encourage you guys, if you have any questions or anything that you want to follow up on, to reach out directly, and you can see both myself, Rich, Mel, and Mark's details are up there if you had any questions. As we said earlier, we're going to be loading this session up into onto our YouTube channel, and if you you can access that YouTube channel via our website. And we'd also encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn, which is one of our main channels that we use to communicate out to the wider industry and to everyone out there. And so that again concludes the presentation part of the session, and we'll move on to questions. So I think we'll hand it over to John. John, if you had any questions that have come through during the session, do you want to read those out?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Obviously we're on time, so won't be able to answer all questions, but any questions that we're unable to answer, we will respond to those after this webinar. So first one is, how quickly can the customer insights environment be set up and deployed?
Mark, do you want to field that one?
Sorry, I was talking away on mute there. Some things never change. So, sorry, the question was how quickly can it be deployed? So I guess you know, it's a fast tool to deploy, without a doubt. The platform can be up and running fairly quickly. you know, a lot of the devil's in the detail here with data and understanding your own data and pulling it across and getting access to it and doing all that kind of stuff. But you're probably talking about, you know, I guess we would probably be looking at some kind of pilot project of in the region of probably 4 to 6 weeks or something, really, to take a proper data set all the way through from end to end. Yeah, just depending on your level of preparedness.
Okay, thanks. And have you any idea of when Purview will become generally available?
I think the best way to find out is to join the event next week.
Okay, thanks, Mel.
Your comment.
And do you need to have well-prepared data to get the best from customer insights?
So I guess, like I said before, the devil was definitely in the detail. You know, you need to understand what's going on with the data, and the more time you put into the data, then the more more seamless the other process will be. The technology is an enabler, but you know, there's no getting away from the fact that sometimes you're looking at data which is old and difficult to understand, and you know, the more effort you put into that, the more you're going to get out of it. But customer insights will allow you to pretty much do what you want in that respect. But yeah, you'll get benefit from putting the time in.
Thanks, Mark. Last question. How do you see customer insights and Purview evolving alongside Synapse?
I'll go first, I guess. Mel's probably got an opinion too, but I guess I would expect to see you know, some of the kind of custom connectors that Microsoft have developed for Purview. I would expect to see them kind of extending into the customer insights platform and onto the common data model, because it's, you know, if you look at it from a 32,000 foot view, then they're kind of almost built for each other. So that's what I would expect to see. Well.
For me, I think from a Purview point of view, I'd like to see the sort of it reach further out into the business. So I'd like to be able to establish sort of governance workflows and things like that that would allow me to assign tasks to business users and all those sorts of things. So that's where I'd like to see Purview develop next, really.
I think they may well discuss some of those things in that upcoming event that you signposted out already, Mel. And probably from a Synapse perspective as well, I think, just as we're asking, I think there's a few things coming down the line that we'll cover at the next webinar. So I would really encourage you to sign up for that when you see the details coming through. There'll be a lot more a lot more tools being integrated to that single pane of analytics. So yeah, it'll be pretty cool to see it all coming together.
Okay, sorry, there is one last question actually just come in. So it's, does Power BI have any benefits for understanding the customer insight data model over their third-party visualization technologies, such as Tableau?
I guess I'll answer that. So I guess there's probably a couple of levels here. So I guess at the first level, then Synapse just presents data out, you know, as a SQL data source at some level. So in that respect, you could use any tool to query it, including Tableau. I guess there are quite a lot of synergies between Power BI and Synapse, and I guess, you know, you're going at things like the kind of orchestration and you know, from what Mel was talking about, you know, Purview's got custom connectors in it that allow you to scan Power BI implementations as well. You know, so there's, well, technically, I guess Tableau could be used on top of this. Then, you know, you'll get a better, you know, you get much better integration and probably more bang for buck from a Power BI perspective.
Excellent. Well, that's all the questions. So thank you all.
Thanks.
Okay. Thanks for everybody for attending.
So just to close out, thanks everyone for joining. As we said, this is going to be loaded up onto the YouTube channel, and as Rich was saying, please pay attention to LinkedIn, and we'll let you know when the next webinars are due out, and we'd encourage everyone to join. So thanks again.